Let me tell you something straight. Success doesn't come from luck, talent, or even passion alone. It comes from structure, from the relentless discipline of those who refuse to waste a single breath of their existence. Real millionaires don't find time, they create it. They engineer every hour with intention, energy, and absolute clarity about where their life is going. Most people live like amateurs, reacting to life, checking notifications, drifting through days as if tomorrow is guaranteed. But the ones who break through, the ones who own their time, they play by a different rule book. Their schedule isn't a calendar, it's a declaration of war against mediocrity. They wake up with purpose. They know why every minute exists, because every minute wasted is opportunity buried. And if you don't control your time will control you. So today I'm going to show you exactly how real millionaires schedule their lives, not for comfort, not for convenience, but for domination, for mastery, and for legacy. The way you start your morning determines how you live your life. The moment that alarm goes off, you are faced with a choice to rise with purpose or to hit snooze on your potential. Most people let the morning own them. They roll over, scroll, delay, and drift into their day with no direction. But the ones who live with power, the ones who command their destiny, use the first hour like a launch pad. Because that first hour isn't about checking off tasks, it's about setting your state, your physiology, your focus, your mindset. They all ignite in that window, shaping how you handle everything that follows. Energy is not something you stumble upon, it's something you generate. Real achievers know this. They don't wait to feel ready, they move their bodies, breathe deep, and prime their minds to dominate the day before the world has even opened its eyes. For men, this means channeling the drive to conquer, not people, but complacency, turning raw aggression into disciplined action. For women, it means transforming emotional energy into creative force, grounding power in grace and intuition. It's not about gender, it's about harnessing the core strength that fuels your identity and using it as your morning engine. Every morning is a mirror of your priorities. If you wake up reacting to messages, to noise, to other people's demands, you've already surrendered control. But if you wake up creating, you are building momentum that compounds all day. It's the difference between running the day or being run by it. That's why real millionaires don't start with emails or to-do lists. They start with silence, strategy, and state. They visualize where they're going, not just what they're doing. They know success begins internally long before the external results show up. Discipline is the bridge between desire and destiny. When you own your morning, you teach your brain to obey your vision instead of your emotions. Most people wake up and negotiate with themselves 5 more minutes. But high performers have eliminated negotiation. They don't ask how they feel, they act on what they've decided. Because feelings are temporary, but habits define legacy. Men and women who master this principle stop being victims of their moods. They become leaders of their own time. Your morning routine should be a ritual, not a routine, a sacred space where you meet your higher self before the world interrupts. Read, write, move, breathe, pray, plan, whatever anchors you in truth. When you connect with that inner power, the rest of the day bends to your will. The phone rings less loudly, problems feel smaller, and focus feels effortless. You stop chasing motivation because your momentum becomes automatic. What separates the average from the extraordinary isn't talent. It's how they use the first hour. Every minute you spend in that space builds the foundation for every victory you will experience later. Because the world doesn't reward the distracted, it rewards the disciplined, the deliberate, and the ones who wake up ready to win before the day even begins. Your day is either your greatest weapon or your biggest weakness. Most people drift through their hours like passengers, not realizing they're sitting in the pilot's seat with the engine running. Real achievers, the ones who move mountains, design their day with surgical precision. They don't hope it goes right, they engineer it to go right. Every hour has intention, every action is strategy, and every pause has purpose. When you treat your time as a weapon, you stop living reactively and start living deliberately. Every day begins in the mind before it plays out in the world. The way you structure your schedule determines the quality of your focus, your emotions, and your outcomes. The difference between the average person and the high performer isn't intelligence, it's structure. Men often crave control and direction, but without a clear system, that drive turns into frustration. Women often juggle multiple roles, but without intentional structure, that strength turns into burnout. Both sides of human psychology crave one thing: alignment. When your schedule aligns with your purpose, your power multiplies. Planning your day isn't about rigidity, it's about freedom. Most people think structure limits them, but the truth is it liberates you. When you know exactly what matters, you waste less time on what doesn't. Imagine a warrior heading into battle without a plan, swinging wildly, burning energy, losing focus. That's how most people approach their day. But when you design your time like a weapon, every move counts. You're sharper, faster, more decisive. You stop bleeding energy on distractions and start directing it toward what creates results. Every decision you make with your time is a declaration of value. You're either saying yes to growth or yes to mediocrity. The world will always try to hijack your attention. Notifications, noise, other people's priorities. But focus is your shield. The strongest people in any field guard their calendar like their life depends on it, because it does. For men, this often means eliminating meaningless motion, cutting out the busy work that feels productive but achieves nothing. For women, it often means setting boundaries with compassion, saying no without guilt, because their time fuels not just their goals, but their emotional well-being. Designing your day like a weapon means stacking your energy, not just your tasks. Start with what demands your highest focus when your mind is strongest, and push low-impact work to when your energy naturally dips. Don't confuse movement with progress. Don't fill your calendar with noise. Create flow. Protect your peak hours for creation, not consumption. When you start mastering your energy patterns instead of ignoring them, your productivity doubles, and so does your confidence. The most powerful people don't chase balance, they create rhythm. They know that a powerful day has a pulse, moments of intensity followed by intentional recovery. Men thrive on achievement, but they burn out when they ignore reflection. Women excel in connection, but they lose momentum when they forget self-renewal. Designing your day means building space for both, the drive to execute and the grace to recharge. It's the combination of power and peace that makes your schedule unshakable. Your day is a battlefield and time is your ammunition. You can't afford to waste it firing in the dark. When you plan your hours with purpose, you stop living in reaction to circumstance and start living in creation of destiny. Every moment becomes a choice, not between doing more, but between what truly matters. That's how real millionaires operate, not with endless motion, but with relentless intention. Every day becomes a weapon, aimed, focused, and unstoppable. Energy is the invisible currency that determines everything you achieve, everything you feel, and everything you become. You can have the best strategies, the best intentions, the best plans, but if your energy is low, your life will always operate a fraction of its potential. Real high performers know that energy is not something to manage casually, it's something to protect fiercely. Because when your energy collapses, so does your focus, your relationships, your ambition, and your identity. Protecting your energy isn't luxury, it's survival for your dreams. Every person wakes up each morning with a limited supply of mental, emotional, and physical energy. The problem is most people give it away before they've even used it for what truly matters. They scroll through social media, get triggered by negativity, or drain themselves by trying to please everyone around them. Real achievers understand that the first battle of the day isn't against the clock, it's against energy leaks. For men, it often shows up as exhaustion masked as business, chasing one thing after another without alignment. For women, it appears as emotional depletion, giving endlessly without refilling their own cup. Both forms are fatal to long-term growth. Your energy is shaped by what you tolerate. Every conversation, every environment, every thought either fuels you or drains you. When you spend time with people who complain, you absorb their vibration. When you engage in tasks that don't align with your mission, you dilute your power. Real millionaires don't just schedule their tasks, they schedule their recovery. They know that performance is not about doing more, it's about staying charged longer. That's why they guard their environment like their mind depends on it. Because it does. Protecting your energy means learning to say no, not out of arrogance, but out of intelligence. Every yes to something meaningless is a no to your own mission. Most people exhaust themselves not because life is hard, but because they refuse to set boundaries. They fear disappointing others more than disappointing themselves. But the moment you decide that your energy is sacred, your life begins to change. You stop seeking validation and start living with intention. Men who embrace this find clarity. They operate from focus, not frenzy. Women who honor this find power. They create from overflow, not obligation. Your physiology is the foundation of your energy. The way you move, breathe, and treat your body dictates how you think and feel. When your body is sluggish, your mind follows. The most powerful individuals understand that movement isn't just fitness, it's fuel. They train not for vanity, but for vitality. They eat for clarity, not comfort. They rest with purpose, not guilt, because they know that when energy collapses, so does execution. You can't lead, love, or create from a state of fatigue. Protecting your body is protecting your ability to serve. Energy is emotional as much as it is physical. The thoughts you entertain are like plugs in your system. Some recharge you, some drain you dry. Fear, guilt, and resentment are emotional parasites. Gratitude, purpose, and excitement are generators. Both men and women must learn to monitor their emotional diet with the same intensity as their physical one. Guard your inner dialogue. Replace self-doubt with self-command. Shift from I have to I get to. That single shift in emotional framing transforms energy instantly. When you protect your energy, you protect your destiny. Every decision, every relationship, every goal you pursue is fueled by the energy behind it. You can't build an extraordinary life on empty batteries. The real winners know this truth. Before you protect your money, your schedule, or your reputation, protect your energy. Because your energy is your life force, and when it's gone, so is your ability to create the future you were meant to live. Most people don't fail because they lack potential. They fail because they schedule like amateurs. They fill their calendars with obligations, errands, and distractions, leaving no time for the very thing that could transform their lives. Real achievers live by a different code. They don't time block their tasks, they time block their dreams. Because tasks maintain your current life, but dreams create your future. Every hour you assign to your vision compounds into momentum. Every block of focused time becomes an investment in who you're becoming, not just what you're doing. Time is the most democratic resource in existence. Everyone gets the same 24 hours. The difference lies in what you prioritize inside those hours. Average people treat time as something to spend. Extraordinary people treat time as something to multiply. When you schedule your dreams first, you're declaring that your purpose isn't negotiable. For men, this means separating movement from meaning, understanding that business isn't progress and that strategy beats hustle. For women, this means freeing themselves from guilt, knowing that carving out time for their own vision isn't selfish, it's essential. When your calendar reflects your dreams, your confidence begins to rise because your actions align with your soul. Every task you perform is either a reaction to someone else's demand or a response to your own calling. The tragedy is that most people build entire lives reacting, answering emails, attending meetings, handling routines, yet never create space for what truly matters. Time blocking your dreams forces you to shift from reaction to creation. It tells your brain, this is sacred, this is where I build my future. Real success isn't created in spontaneous bursts of inspiration, it's built through consistent, intentional blocks of deep focus. The human brain thrives on rhythm, not randomness. When you commit a specific time each day or week solely to your dream, your mind learns to prepare for it, anticipate it, and perform at a higher level. This is how athletes train, how artists create, how leaders scale. It's not about having more time, it's about owning your time. Men often underestimate the cost of distraction. They believe they can outwork chaos. Women often underestimate the value of consistency. They believe they need perfect conditions to begin. Both must learn that mastery is born in the moments you protect from interruption. Time blocking your dreams is also a psychological declaration of worth. It says, my vision matters enough to earn space in my life. When you treat your dreams like appointments with destiny, you stop letting life's noise drown out your calling. You begin to hold yourself accountable to something larger. This isn't just about time management, it's identity management. You become the kind of person who keeps promises to yourself. That shift rewires your confidence, rewrites your self-image, and redefines what's possible. Your energy expands in the direction of your focus. If you fill your days only with tasks, you'll become a master of maintenance. But when you fill your schedule with dream-building time, even 30 focus minutes a day, you start to experience momentum. Momentum creates motivation. Motivation builds discipline. Discipline produces transformation. For men, this creates certainty, the sense of progress that fuels purpose. For women, it builds empowerment, the quiet strength of knowing they are moving toward their vision with intention. When you start time blocking your dreams, life stops feeling chaotic and starts feeling crafted. You wake up knowing where your energy is going and why it matters. You no longer drift from one demand to another. You design your days around what will matter 5 years from now, not 5 minutes from now. That's how real millionaires schedule their lives, not around what's urgent, but around what's ultimate. They understand that if you don't make time for your dreams, you're making time for someone else's. The fastest way to accelerate your success is to start saying no more often. Most people think success is about doing more, adding more goals, more projects, more commitments, but the truth is real growth comes from subtraction. Every yes you give takes a piece of your time, your focus, your energy. Every yes divides your attention, and divided attention is the death of excellence. The people who reach the top don't have more hours, they simply refuse to waste them. They understand that every powerful yes must be protected by 1,000 strategic no's. Success is not built by addition, it's sculpted by elimination. Think about it. A sculptor doesn't add clay to reveal a masterpiece. He chips away at what doesn't belong. Life works the same way. You don't become great by saying yes to everything. You become great by removing what's not aligned with your purpose. For men, this means learning to let go of distractions disguised as opportunities, the meetings, the noise, the endless grind that feels productive but produces nothing. For women, it means breaking free from the pressure to please, saying no without apology, understanding that peace and progress come from prioritizing their own mission. Every yes carries a hidden cost. You pay for it in energy, in focus, in emotional bandwidth. The reason most people feel overwhelmed isn't because they have too much to do, but because they've agreed to too much that doesn't matter. They say yes to obligations that drain them, people who distract them, and habits that dull them. Real achievers know that freedom isn't found in saying yes. It's found in the courage to say no. Every time you decline something unimportant, you reclaim power over your direction. Saying no is an act of leadership over your own life. It requires clarity, confidence, and conviction. When you know who you are and where you're going, saying no becomes easy. But when you're unclear, everything feels urgent, and everyone else's priorities start to run your life. Men often struggle here because they equate business with worth. They believe saying yes proves their strength or competence. Women struggle because society conditions them to nurture, to accommodate, to keep the peace. But real strength for both comes from boundaries. The moment you decide that your time and energy are sacred, you stop being pulled in 1,000 directions. Every note creates space for something more meaningful. When you subtract the unnecessary, the essential reveals itself. The world rewards those who are decisive, not those who are available. The most successful people have learned that saying no to good things is the only way to make room for great things. They don't attend every event, accept every project, or chase every shiny object. They live with focus, not FOM. They understand that success isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things with ruthless consistency. The psychology of saying no isn't about rejection. It's about redirection. It's teaching your brain to protect what matters most. Every time you say no to something that drains you, you strengthen your ability to stay aligned with your purpose. It's not a lack of ambition, it's mastery of attention. For men, this discipline builds power, the ability to channel energy into impact instead of noise. For women, it builds freedom, the ability to give fully to what truly fulfills them without being consumed by everything else. When you begin to treat no as a tool instead of a threat, your life transforms. Your schedule clears, your focus sharpens, and your stress drops. You stop running in circles and start moving with precision, because success at its core is not about how much you can take on. It's about how much you can let go of. The fewer distractions you carry, the faster you rise. The moment you learn to subtract, you stop surviving and start designing. Motivation is unreliable. It's exciting when it's there, but it's fleeting. It fades when life gets hard, when challenges hit, when emotions shift. That's why real achievers don't depend on motivation, they depend on rituals. Rituals are the invisible architecture of success, the repeatable patterns that keep you moving forward when your feelings would rather hold you back. Motivation gets you started, but rituals keep you going. Every extraordinary person you admire has built systems that make excellence automatic. They don't rise to the level of their motivation, they fall to the strength of their rituals. Discipline built on emotion is fragile, but discipline built on ritual is unstoppable. When you have rituals in place, your brain no longer negotiates with comfort. You don't ask, do I feel like doing this? Because the decision has already been made. For men, this structure channels their natural drive into consistency. It converts aggression into focus, turning potential into performance. For women, rituals transform emotional energy into power. They provide stability in chaos, grounding purpose in repetition. Rituals bridge the gap between inspiration and execution, creating progress on the days when your mind screams for rest. The secret to long-term success is to make your habits sacred. The way you start your morning, the way you handle stress, the way you close your day, these aren't just routines, they are declarations of identity. Every time you repeat a ritual, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. If your rituals are weak, your future will be too. But when your rituals are strong, they carry you through storms without hesitation. That's why real millionaires schedule rituals the way others schedule meetings, non-negotiable, immovable, and deeply personal. Rituals reshape your identity by aligning behavior with purpose. When you repeat an empowering action long enough, it becomes part of who you are. You no longer need motivation to do it. You simply don't know how to live without it. Men thrive on achievement, but their downfall often comes when they lose structure and drift into chaos. Rituals create stability in that storm. Women thrive on connection, but they burn out when they give endlessly without rituals that replenish them. Rituals create renewal in that cycle. They aren't about doing more, they're about creating rhythm, a natural pulse of action and recovery that sustains performance. When you rely on motivation, you live in reaction. You wait for the right feeling before you take action. But when you live by ritual, you act first and let emotion catch up later. That shift changes everything. Your workouts become automatic, your focus deepens, your energy compounds. Rituals turn effort into flow because they remove decision fatigue, the endless mental chatter about what to do next. They transform your day from chaos into choreography, where each action builds on the next. True mastery begins when your rituals are stronger than your excuses. The moments that define your destiny will come when no one is watching, when no one is cheering, when the excitement is gone, and only your rituals remain. That's when your character is forged. Rituals are the silent habits that build momentum when passion fades, that keep you showing up when comfort calls. For men, this builds certainty, the deep knowing that they can rely on themselves no matter what. For women, it builds trust, the confidence that their discipline will carry them even when life feels unpredictable. When you build rituals that outlast motivation, your consistency becomes your power. You no longer depend on emotional highs to take action. You generate your own momentum through repetition. That's the true mark of success, when your actions are no longer driven by temporary feelings but by an unshakable standard. Because motivation may light the fire, but only rituals keep it burning.